What's good in the YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you guys another video. Today I'm bringing you guys a video on Lupinranger versus Patoranger, episode 36. This episode is called Shoot the Bomb, and the episode overall was okay. It wasn't a super amazing episode, like the Lupin Magnum episode was when that got introduced, or even the previous episode, but it was okay. It also introduced the only other form that Lupin Magnum is known to have, at least so far, so that's good. And as far as other things go, this episode had an okay story. It didn't do anything big plot-wise per se, but I did enjoy the episode in some ways. I found some things were done well. So let's get started. The episode basically begins with us seeing that there's this gangler called Pecker, and Pecker is creating a special plan that he hopes to use. He has this, Lupin collection item in him that's allowing him to have this special plan that it's supposed to be super hard to, like it's a super complex. It's a plan that isn't so straightforward. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, what happens is that the Pato-Rangers end up having to deal with Pecker. They end up fighting him. At one point, the gangler uses his advanced notion of seeing things that will happen before they happen to time a special attack that will lead to his own personal ability coming into effect for Sequoia. Again, what we've seen several times is that there's typically the ability that the ganglers themselves have and the ability that the Lupin collection items give them. So in this case, his ability is something that has to do with slip-ups. So what happens is that he ends up launching this attack that bounces off of a wall and then ends up hitting towards Sequoia, and Sequoia ends up getting the slip-up effect, which leads to him, when he tries to go after the gangler, slipping up, shooting a blast that actually ends up hurting Kichiro. And what happens is that he shoots a few more bullets that also end up hitting Kichiro. So in other words, the situation isn't good, and the gangler gets away. Following this, what happens is that we end up seeing that, we see that Sequoia ends up heading off to a specific location, because I'm trying to remember how this works. I believe that the Pato-Rangers initially are trying to figure out where Pecker is. They're looking around, trying to figure out his whole story. At one point, Sequoia ends up going to a plaza, ends up seeing this guy who's offering this special necklace that you can wear, that if you wear it, it will lead to you not being able to suppress your anger. And so what happens is that he ends up wearing this, is that Sequoia wants it, and the thing is that the guy's giving it away for free, so he buys two more, one for Sequoia, one for himself, one for Kichiro, and one for Tsukasa. So then what happens is that it brings them back to the global police. Sequoia and Kichiro end up wearing them. Kichiro especially is interested, and the thing is that Sequoia mentions that it has to do with relieving exhaustion, not anger, because again, obviously that would lead to more anger in him, because he's already an angry person, as we've seen several times over. So what does end up happening is that Sequoia does end up testing this out when he slips up again, and this causes him to, well, actually no, what he does to test it is that he mentions that he ate a piece of cake that Sequoia blamed Hilltop for eating, but Sequoia actually ate, and then Kichiro gets angry, but then he calms down because of the bracelet, because of the necklace on him, and what happens is that he becomes more at ease. So following this, what happens is that we end up seeing several other times that Sequoia tries different things to get a rise out of him, and it's clear that he's acting more level-headed because of this necklace. Now, what we do end up seeing is that Noel and also Carter are trying to figure out the location of Pecker, what's his plan, and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to find out that kind of information, and what does end up happening is that they end up uncovering information about the plans, because Noel was there during that whole fight scene, and so he was able to recover those plans and find out more information. What they do notice is that they learn of the plan and what it has to do with, which is that if a person gets angry, yes, the bracelet will suppress their anger, but the anger will actually power a bomb. And the thing that's powering the bomb are those bracelets, or those necklaces, in other words, that they're wearing. So the thing is that eventually they show Sequoia and Kichiro show them to Noelle and Carter, and they're like really worried that, like, you know, they know that Kichiro is an angry person. I mean, Sequoia is not, but Kichiro definitely is. So it creates a bit of a concern as to the whole situation. Now, what we do end up seeing as well is that the Lupinrangers are on their mission. They end up actually uncovering who that guy was that Sequoia met that gave them the necklace. And so they have to go after him. And they end up heading to the plaza again, where they end up seeing this big stand that's selling these bracelets. And what happens is that the Gangler is taken out by the Lupinranger, so his identity is revealed. Additionally, what does end up happening is that Sequoia feels bad for what he's been doing, and, you know, the fact that he gave Kichiro this bracelet, and he wants to be someone that can be respected and loved, and not someone that feels like a slip up and messes up all the time like he's typically been seen as. So what happens is that in his case, what they end up what happens is that Kichiro takes him with him because he feels bad for, you know, treating Sequoia a certain way all the time and not giving him the same respect that he wants to have, that Sequoia gives him on a regular basis. And so the thing is that they end up going off on their mission. They end up trying to figure out where this Gangler is. In the meantime, what we do end up seeing is that the Lupinrangers end up fighting the Gangler because of the fact that they revealed the identity. And also at one point, Umika shows up trying to defend the Gangler because she wants to learn where the location of the bomb is, and if the Lupinrangers destroy the Gangler, then they won't be able to find out that information. But just prior to that, the Lupinrangers do manage to get the Lupin collection item, which is actually in this case based off of the digitizer from Mega Ranger, so that's pretty cool to see. So we see that. Additionally, what does end up happening is that we mentioned that we hear this whole mention of slip up because, you know, giving up the identity of the location of the bomb would be a slip up. And so what happens is that Umika tries to time a special attack that would lead to a slip up that for the Gangler, so that he would reveal the location. So what happens is that she does a bunch of attacks towards the Gangler and then tries to hide behind Umika. And again, each of the Lupinrangers actually have their boost with him, like the Kisatsus and the Kaito boost. The Kisatsu, you know, the ones that are the what do you call it? The blimp one, the, you know, the splash. It's splash, magic, and also I'm forgetting what the scissor, blade and scissors. And so what happens is that he ends up what do you call it? She ends up knocking into Umika, so that the shield, which is from the scissors and blade, actually leads to it bouncing against the attack and causing the attack to bounce back at the enemy, and leading to the Gangler gaining its own ability, like getting affected by its own effect, which leads to it slipping up. And so what happens is that it reveals the location in that case. So they end up learning where it is, which is at a special tower. At that point, what happens is that Sequoia and Kichiro head off to that tower. They end up finding out the location and actually see the bomb, which is being charged up by people's anger. So if it gets to 100%, it's charged up all the way. It's at 80% initially. And the thing is that Kichiro doesn't feel like he could deal with the bomb, so he gives the task to Sequoia because he wants to give him that chance to to be respectful, and he wants to show that he can believe in him, and that in order for him to believe in him, he has to, you know, be able to take these chances and do things like this that may not be so simple. So what happens is that Sequoia understands, and he gets in position to do an attack towards this antenna that will deactivate the bomb if it's destroyed. So what happens is that in the meantime, we end up seeing that Tsukasa is trying to fight the Gangler. It's not working, so eventually the 3 Lupinrangers go in for their finishing moves using the 3 boost attacks that they have going, and they destroy the Gangler. At this point, what happens is that Sequoia goes in, destroys the antenna right before the bomb would have gone off, and they rejoice. In the meantime, what we do end up seeing is that Goody and Noelle also rejoice back at the base, and then what we end up seeing is that because Goody's there, he's clearly not in position for to help out the Lupinrangers or the Power Rangers right now, but he's on the side of the Power Rangers clearly. So what happens is that in this case, the Lupinrangers end up summoning Lupin Magnum, but actually combine it with Lupin Yellow's, like the yellow Dial Fighter and the blue Dial Fighter, to create Lupin Magnum Superior, which is that combined power, and it allows them to not have to actually be inside of Lupin Magnum. So in other words, it can fight on its own with these Dial Fighters, which is cool because that means that there's a lot more that can occur and more combinations can happen just from that alone. Although Lupin Magnum can only combine with those 2, at least that's what we've seen, and I think that's all they're expecting to do. It would be nice if they could do some of the other attachments, but I think that they're really just focusing on those 2 as the secondaries, which was good. What we do end up seeing is that they do manage to summon Pat Kaiser. So Pat Kaiser works alongside Lupin Magnum Superior, and then it switches to Lupin Magnum, and they do manage to, in the end, actually defeat the Gangler, which is pretty cool. And they actually managed to, with Lupin Magnum, open up the safe and put inside it the bomb that was attached to the tower. So that what happens is that Pat Kaiser ends up using its baton to strike at the Gangler and lead to it exploding in midair. So that's pretty cool. As far as things go otherwise, what we do end up seeing is that back at the base, they rejoice, they're happy that they defeated the Gangler. Noelle praises Kichiro and everyone else for the fact that the workplace is something that's, leading to the juniors gain the respect that the seniors gain respect for, and the seniors giving the respect to the juniors, in other words. So there's that kind of respect on both ends. And because of the fact that Sequoia is Kichiro's junior, and Kichiro is Sequoia's senior. I think I might have said it the other way around or something like that, but you get my point. So anyway, what does end up happening is that we see another slip up occur, even though the effect has actually been removed. And that's just him being klutzy, like just being a klutz overall. So what happens is that it leads to some anger with Kichiro, and the episode basically ends. As far as things go with the preview, it does seem like there's going to be this Gangler that's going to force the Lupinrangers and the Power Rangers, when they're attacked by his ability, it will send them back to their homes for some reason. I don't really think that's anything that crazy or cool or anything, but I think it's okay. I mean, I'm interested in it regardless. What is worth noting though is that Good Cool Kaiser will be showing up in that episode, so that is something to note. I really wasn't able to tell if they were using the original combination or if they were using the secondary combination that we saw in the more recent appearance of Good Cool Kaiser. Either way, it should still be cool to see, just because Good Cool Kaiser is an interesting combination. It doesn't look that great in toy form, but as far as things go in the show, I've actually started to like it a bunch, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it show up again. And clearly, if it's showing up, that means the Gangler that they're going to be fighting will either be really powerful, or they'll be fighting something alongside it that will be very powerful. Again, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. As far as other things go, I don't know exactly when the next new item or merchandise will be showing up. I'm kind of hoping maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, if I had to guess. Because I think that there's something that should be introduced in October, so I'm expecting either not next week, but the week after or the week after that. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but it is interesting to note that we haven't seen anything new since Lupin Magnum, which again, Lupin Magnum is still fairly recent. I mean, we just got Lupin Magnum Superior, and that's its 3rd week of Lupin Magnum really being a thing, so it's understandable that it really hasn't had a whole lot yet as far as functionality goes, but it's just something to note. So otherwise, that's about it for me, guys. As far as what to expect otherwise, I'm expecting that the next thing merchandise-wise might be like Siren Striker or the Victory Striker thing that's supposed to be happening. Also, eventually we'll be getting the power-up modes for Lupin X, and eventually, supposedly, we're supposed to be getting a power-up mode for Lupin Red. That will happen probably that should be happening very soon, if not towards the beginning of November. But we'll have to wait and see. Just keep that in mind. And otherwise, that's about it for me, guys. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next videos. Until then, guys, I am Crazy Sam Wrestling 1, and goodbye.